joining us. He has made it from elk hunting in Utah back to the great city of Austin. Colt, how you doing?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for being flexible with me today.
Hey, man, we're
for you, Colt. Come on now.
Yeah, man. So obviously, congratulations on the Hall of Honor. When you hear that you were never supposed to play at Texas because Ryan Perrilloux was committed in that class, of course, he never made it. When you hear that, Colt, do you agree with it, or what do you say about that?
I mean, listen, I think that I came into a pretty fortunate situation that I'm very thankful for. I was going to come regardless of if Ryan decided to come or not. That didn't bother me. But I also was, a guy from West Texas that went to a really small school and nobody had ever heard from or about. And, there wasn't a whole lot of expectations for me coming onto campus. I redshirted for a year and then ended up winning the job, and kind of the rest is history. And so I just worked really hard and had a lot of people pour into me along the way that deserve a lot of thanks and credit. And it was a really special time, and to be able to play 4 years at the flagship school of our state and be as well coached and been on as many good teams as I was, I just totally count my blessings.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about just the change that you had coming in as an incoming freshman to Scola, Texas, to Austin. Big difference. And, just exactly. Adapting to that. Talk about just not only football-wise, but just as a college student at Texas. Now, you're a small fish in the big pond. How was that process?
Yeah. The Jester Hall had its own zip code, and there was more people in Jester Hall than was in my hometown. So that was a big change, but it was great. I tell people all the time, I've probably said it, many times that, I wasn't ready to play when I first walked on campus. I played all the sports in high school. I never had an off season. I needed to put on some weight. I needed to learn and grow. And, I grew a couple inches, I hit a growth spurt. There was just a lot of things that, just were in my, that worked for me and were in my favor. And I got to sit, a year and redshirt and really learn the playbook and learn the system and watch how it's supposed to be done and credit, that year to really helping me kind of walk into the situation that I did. And, I totally had to go out there and earn it. Right. And earn it every year, really.
Texas Matt kept bringing in guys to compete with you. Jevin,
There's always
G.J. Kinney.
There's always going to be the competition and the 5-star guys, and but that never really bothered me, and I trusted what we were trying to do and build, and getting a taste of that undefeated season my redshirt year just kind of fueled me all 4 years.
Colt, I'm absolutely convinced that you would have won the Heisman Trophy in 2008, and you all would have played for the national championship if y'all could have held on in Lubbock. And I thought your 2008 season is one of the best seasons of college football from a quarterback ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, you were the leading rusher. You converted 3rd and 7 or longer, I think 56% of the time. It was insane. Mm-hmm. You were more accurate outside the pocket than you were in it, so that helps because the offensive line, you had to do a lot of things. Do you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, no, I think that people really don't, this may be a hot take, but I think that we were probably better in 2008 than we were in 2009.
I agree.
I think if those two teams played against each other, I think the 08 team just had there was just more veteran presence, a little bit more skill. In 2009, we played with a bunch of young receivers who all became really good players, but we took we learned a bunch on the way. We weren't blowing out people like we were in 2008. And there was a lot of coaching and mentoring And no, I want you to run the route like this, not like this. Like I need it this way. And, we won close games because we knew what our makeup was, and we were able to finish and close out. But 2008 was a season that, it was just, there was an attitude and a makeup about us that nothing was going to be close. And we went through that 4-game stretch where we played, all these top 10 teams, and Texas Tech ended up getting us on the last play. And, that really, at the time, you look at the state of college football now, at the time we left that up to like voters of the BCS, and we're like 0.0 whatever points away from going, right. And, we had to watch the 2 teams that we had already beat play in the Big 12 championship, which was a hard pill to swallow. And so but that's just how college football was back then. Now it's like, I'm so fired up for this 12-team playoff. Like, this is going to be incredible, right? The best team will truly win, and they'll come out on top, and whoever can get hot late. And, for us and for that team, like, we were hot all year. Like, we didn't fear anybody. And, had we had the opportunity to move on, I think we liked our matchups. And, ultimately, you won the Fiesta Bowl, and it was great. And, but there was a time in there where it just didn't feel right that we didn't get to go all the way based on, that one slip up on the road in Lubbock.
Well, and you've been tested a lot. We know about 2009, but I want to ask you about the Browns, because we're watching Bryce Young get flushed, and we've seen quarterbacks. Sometimes you go into a really bad situation, and I thought you had one of the worst situations with Eric Mangini in Cleveland. Like, I heard at one point he had you try to run a play that didn't exist, which I don't even understand what could go through the mind of a head coach for that. But, like, do you understand sometimes it's not the quarterback, it's the situation?
Yeah, I mean, look, like that's kind of, that's football, right? There's good situations, and there's really not advantageous situations. And, I think Bryce Young is a good quarterback. I still think he has a lot of football to learn and to play. And, look, that situation is not great there. And, you see a lot of guys that go into a situation and are really good players, and it just doesn't work out. And, circling back to me, Cleveland was fine, right? Ultimately it comes down to how well you play and how well you perform. And I didn't play good enough. It wasn't for lack of effort or try or time. Like, I can hold my head high and say I gave the Cleveland Browns every ounce of me, right? But we weren't better than the teams in our division, and went through a lot of coaches and a lot of changes. And, for that to go on early in your career, it's hard to climb the ladder back up and have a chance. And, I think for me, I battled injuries all through the NFL. I had my chances to start, and most of the teams that I was on, I couldn't stay healthy for a long stretch. And, but I would say, like, leaving the Browns, was hard, but at the same time, it's ultimately why I played 14 years, and I became a better football player, and I learned from that situation and those experiences that I was in, and tried to process them over the years. And, it helped me be better later in my career. But you're right. I mean, I think there's good situations and there's bad situations. And, there's a lot of guys you can throw in there, right? There's a lot of guys that, if I'm being very honest, I think, were probably better football players than me, and just couldn't handle the situation and the environment and what was being thrown at them, and they didn't last that long. And so, the NFL is tough, man. It's a hard game, and you certainly need the support of a good defense, a good coach, a good scheme on offense, guys who can catch the ball, guys who can block. Football is the ultimate team sport, and, a lot of times it goes on the shoulders of the quarterback, which, that's just how it's set up. And, that can be some tricky situations.
Yeah. How do you feel about this year's Texas team? Number 1 in the nation. Quinn's looked good so far. Unfortunate that he went down, but here comes Arch Manning getting his first go as a starting quarterback tomorrow. How you feel about the 2024 Horns?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to be hard to beat, especially what we mentioned earlier. Like, it's the team that's going to get hot at the end who's going to win it all. And I certainly think that Texas has the makeup to do that. Like, I've watched them play. I just, I think the difference between this team and teams over the last 10 years or so is just their fronts, their offensive line, defensive line. Those guys just wear on people, and they wear you down, and they're strong, and they play good every week, and they win their matchups. And like, when you can do that, like, Texas is always going to have skill. And I think that's what you're seeing. And I think Quinn's playing really good. I think Arch is really good. I think we probably have one of the best QB situations in the country, and that's a good thing. I think, Quinn being able, or Arch being able to get in here and play a game and start, that's good for everybody, right? You never know when you got to step in and play and go win a game. Like, that's the role that he's in right now. And so I think he's going to play great tomorrow, and hopefully Quinn can heal up. And but I think the makeup of our team and how Sark calls plays on offense, how good our defense is playing, like, we certainly are right there. There's no doubt.
How about this? Double D. Colt, you remember going on KRBC with your wide receiver at Tuscola talking about committing to Texas? I was the studio cameraman for that. Feels like forever ago. I'm also Jess's old boss's husband.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, my receiver in high school was a guy named Cam Holson. He was a great receiver. He ended up playing basketball at Abilene Christian, and I think that's what he's talking about. We went on and, like, look, man, like, going to Jim Ned High School and being able to be recruited and go to UT. I mean, it was a big deal, but at the same time, nobody really knew, like, what that meant. Like, I got a scholarship to go to UT. It's like, I'm not sure that anybody in my hometown like thought I was going to go to UT and play, maybe, but that playbook had never been written before, and it hasn't since, right? You're in a small town. Friday Night Lights is a beautiful place to grow up, and I wouldn't change a thing. And but to go back and put my shoes in that interview, like, holy cow, there's no telling what I said in that interview.
Well, so you should have been in the Hall of Honor a long time ago. Is this just because of the schedule? Like, they want you there, and you've been in the NFL for 14 years, and
yeah, I think that's right. I think maybe you have to retire before that happens. I'm not exactly sure, but when I hung it up, I tore my elbow up about a year and a half ago, and I had a big surgery, and it just, when I came back and was going to be the starter in Arizona last year, I couldn't do it anymore. The ball, after I came out of surgery, the rehab, the throwing programs, and it just wouldn't hold up, and I couldn't throw it the way that I needed to play an NFL game. I mean, I can still throw the ball around, but not like you got to when you're playing, at the top of the top. And that was hard because I think every other part of me, my mind, my brain, the rest of my body was like, I probably had 3 or 4 more years in me, and to have it cut short by injury, like, listen, I'm not the first one that happened to. I won't be the last. Like, that's just part of the game, wear and tear of the elbow. And so I choose to be thankful and grateful. It was awesome. But I think the Hall of Honor thing was just something that, they wanted to do whenever I retired, and, now we're here.
Yeah. Well, you are one of the all-time against all odds, not in your mind, but in everyone else's mind at every turn. I mean,
well, look, it's a little bit different situation, right? You look at Quinn, or you look at Arch. I mean, these guys were or you look at Garrett Gilbert, or really any of these quarterbacks that come to UT, they're going to be the 5-star guys, the best of the best, right? And, I was in a little bit different situation where Coach Brown saw something in me from watching my tape at my 2A high school and said, I think this guy could do it. Maybe we'll go give him a shot. And I'll forever be grateful for that. But I also didn't come in with the expectations that these guys have. I mean, there's a lot. It's a lot there. And, I get to talk to these guys and share my experiences and kind of help them out. And they'll call me and ask me questions or how, a lot of times it's like, man, you have a lot more pressure than I did early. I certainly faced the pressures and the realities of being the quarterback at Texas. There's no doubt about it, right? That came quick. But coming in, I wasn't the top dog. I joke all the time. It was like I had Jamal Charles and Michael Finley and I mean, everybody we had the smallest recruiting class ever at UT. We had 13 guys. And I tell people all the time, they were like the number 3 ranked recruiting class in the country. And then I signed, and then we were out of the top 10 because I wasn't even ranked. Right. So, I mean, I didn't have the expectations that these guys have, but they're all really good players. And but I certainly can relate to them on the pressures of being the quarterback at Texas and winning football games and what that means and how to do it and how to carry yourself. And I think these guys are doing an awesome job.
Yeah. Last one for me, Colt, before we let you go. Your relationship with Mac now, have you been down to Chapel Hill to see him? And is it weird seeing them in that Carolina blue?
No, man, I love Coach Brown. I actually have not been to North Carolina. He asked me to come down there all the time. I've been playing for so long, I hadn't been able to make it up there. But I love him, and I think just like looking back at my time at UT, being able to play for the same coaching staff my whole career that's a big deal. That doesn't happen a whole lot, and Greg Davis and Bobby Kennedy and all McWhorter, all these guys that they were there the whole time with me, and I was able to really dive in and know the ins and outs of what we were trying to do, just like I was a coach for those 4 years, and that was pretty special. I look back on that now, realizing I benefited from that for sure.
How are you enjoying the broadcasting?
It's going good. I mean, it's an art. It's hard. I think sometimes I still feel like I'm in a quarterback room. That's what I've been in forever, and it needs to be a little bit less X's and O's and a little bit more analyst role of big picture and talking things, and so I'm getting used to it. I think I'm improving each week, but it's a tricky deal, and I've got a lot more games this year that'll be fun to call, and I think I'll get better and better. I remember the first time I played a football game, it wasn't that pretty. And so I got to always remember that, like there's things that I can learn and grow from and work on that'll help me moving forward.
Well, again, one of the greatest against all odds stories in the history of college football. The all-time wins leader at one point, the season completion percentage record setter. It is one of the great stories, Colt, and this honor is so deserving, just like your name and number up in the stadium. And congratulations, man. Did you get any elk?
I did, man. I was, again, I grew up in West Texas, man, on a farm. Hunting and fishing is, sort of what I've always loved to do, and kind of give those things up playing football, right? You're committed to that, and you're not able to do that very often, and so I got out there this week and had a blast. It was awesome. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the game. It's going to be a ton of fun. I'm very honored and humbled to be able to go into the Hall of Honor at UT. There's so many amazing men and women who have given so much to this school that are in there, and some a lot going in this week with me, and it's a big honor. And also it's the first time my kids have ever gone to a UT game, so I may be just as pumped for that. Like their mind's gonna be blown. It's gonna be crazy. So excited about all that.
Well, yeah, it's awesome. Congrats. Let's do it again, and
all right,
have a great weekend. Enjoy.
Okay. Sounds good, guys. Thanks again for being flexible with me. Sorry, my they got me running around doing a bunch of stuff. So this was great, and I hope you guys enjoy the game this weekend.